Hey, it's Camo for Nashville Access. Facebook Live, the Pie Wagon Sessions. We're here. It's like it turned fall again over there. And Buckle. Hey, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. We actually met last summer out in White Bluff because this kind of ties into how you come by your musical stuff naturally. It's kind of a family thing. We were trying to get a good group of people. My mouth is not working. Get a group of people singing Will the Circle Be Unbroken.
Yeah.
You were there because you're from the Carter family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My great uncle is A.P. Carter,
Wow.
and he was a brother of another Carter named Ezra Carter, who was June Carter Cash's dad. So she also, by relation, was a cousin.
Wow. That's some pretty cool musical heritage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it just is natural that you kind of picked things up and started playing.
Yeah, my uncle, Bugs Cornet, owned a studio in Bristol, which is where the Bristol Sessions were in 1927, and he and my other uncle Mike had that studio when I was a kid and gave me my first violin when I was 6 and said, play, learn this. So I kind of got thrown into it super young, and neither of my parents is very musical. They're school teachers, but my uncle said, get her into music, here's what she's going to do. And so,
Yeah, I had kind of the same thing. A friend said, I wanted to play guitar.
Yeah.
And this friend of the family who was a steel player said, get him to play steel. He'll always be working. Have you been to a club in Nashville lately?
Yeah.
Not many steel players.
No, it's hard. I'd say that's probably the instrument that's harder than violin.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it's all the mechanics.
Yeah,
Violin
so
you
many
can tune
parts.
and that's it. So how long have you been kind of professionally doing what you do?
So I moved to Nashville 5 years ago after I finished school and have been pushing away at it since then.
Yeah. Well, you got 5 more years before you make it.
Yeah, this is a 10-year town, right? So yeah.
Cool. You don't just do, I mean, it's like everybody here, when you do music, you do a lot of different things. Learn music, you teach, you write, you do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, so when I first moved to Nashville, I had kind of a unique path. I actually worked for the governor for a couple of years, and I had a 9-to-5 job in education policy, building a program called the Tennessee Promise, which made community college free in the state. So I did that and tried to pursue music in the evenings kind of part-time, and I realized that it would never really happen for me if I didn't just jump in. So I made a really hard decision to quit a comfortable job to just go freelance at it. And now I do have about 8 different jobs that are all part-time, but I'm self-employed and I teach music lessons. I work part-time at the Hall of Fame as a museum educator and songwriter. I tour as a fiddle player. I sing demos and do background sessions and session work as a fiddle player. I'm a freelance writer and do some writing on the side as well, like book writing. And then, of course, my dream to be a singer-songwriter and have my own songs shared.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know it was all that stuff.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of
It's
stuff.
a lot of different things that all piece together to pay the bills. And it's really cool because I feel like everything I'm doing I love, and it's all music related, which I didn't know that could or would happen. So.
Yeah. We were talking earlier, too, about getting up early.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person. This is early for me.
And it seems to be kind of a thing about, singers and writers. Nothing starts early except me.
All radio shows, though.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
radio shows and Facebook Live, they all like to start super
I
early.
remember when Kid Rock kind of made that transition to country. He said, man, country singers work hard. He said, I can't be a country singer. They all have to be at radio stations at 7 o'clock in the
So
morning
early.
doing radio tours.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough.
Now, your style of music, you wouldn't necessarily pigeonhole it as country.
It's definitely morphing. So I think being a member of the Carter family, I always figured I had to be in country music. And I grew up in Georgia, but I grew up in a suburb of Atlanta, so it wasn't a super southern.
We almost went hip hop.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is now we're using a lot of urban beats in my sound. So when I first moved here, I definitely tried to fit what I thought I should be, which was country. I played violin after all, and I came from these roots. But then after chasing that for a while, I found that I was trying to copy too many people and that I needed to just do what was me. And the truth is that I speak French and lived in France for almost a year when I was in college, and I love classical music, and I was in choir for decades, I'm not that old, but for pretty much my whole life. And I realized I need to embrace that. I was classically trained on the violin, and so I started incorporating strings into my songs, not just fiddle style, but actual string arrangements. I bought a viola and started playing viola. I started speaking French in some of my songs I was writing and incorporating my love of that culture, and it turned into this more indie pop thing that still is certainly influenced by country, and when I sing, a little bit of my accent comes out, and I don't have a huge accent, but I have a little bit of one. And I just started being true to what I was, which isn't necessarily mainstream country. And my new project, which is under the name of Wildwood, not Ann Buckle, is all this new thing, which is a little bit of a darker indie pop Americana sound. And I'm honestly just being true to me. I'm using lyrics that feel real and poetic, and that's something you can't always do in country as well, because it's more of a story in the song. And I like writing story songs, but I really enjoy just writing what's true for me. So I'm letting it be what it is.
I guess it's something when you come from a legendary family, because Hank Williams Jr. had the same thing. You know, he was under so much pressure to be like his father, and it wasn't until, you know, he fell off that mountain and had the realization that I got to do what I need to do, that he really broke out and
got his own sound.
Yeah, and you had to do it without falling off the mountain and getting plastic surgery.
Yeah. So it's been cool, and since the Wildwood thing started last year, actually, I had released the album about 2.5 years ago as Ann Buckle, and it was all right. I'm proud of the songs, but it wasn't anything special. It was just chasing everybody else, and then I took 2 years, not really off, but just to really write and develop my sound. I toured a lot with other bands during that time as a fiddle player and saw what they were doing, and I kind of got it together. And then this last year, Wildwood was born, and a small label in town, South by Sea, picked up the project. So it's on a label now, which is amazing, and the song that's out is doing super well. So
that's pretty
cool.
Enviable for a lot of artists.
I envied it for 4 years, and I'm finally on one, and I'm like, this is amazing.
And it's because you're doing with your natural voice.
Yeah, I'm just using everything that's me and not trying to be something different, and I think they notice that, and they're like, this is cool and unique, and nobody's putting strings and urban beats and these French chords with all these like whole tones and weird like progressions that we wouldn't normally hear in mainstream music, but still keeping it commercial, because I really love commercial music and things that relate to people. So,
well, the word commercial, everybody uses that like it's a dirty word. It's not. It just means that
appealing to
people
the masses.
like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's no, I don't want to be commercial. Oh, really? You don't want anybody to buy your stuff or like it?
No.
Well,
so I think that's the goal, is just being true to myself, finding something unique, and then keeping it to where people are relating to it.
cool. How about doing something for us?
Yeah, so the song that I currently have out is the only song in the Wildwood project. We have another one coming out next month, so everybody will have to look out for that. But this one we released in February, and it's called Moonrise.
Nice.
Falls at night, doubts keep pouring in my mind. You and your running around got me wondering now if you love me the same as I do. Will you still love me when the stars fade away? Will you still love me when the night steals the day? When it gets dark, will you stay where you are, or will you be hiding when the moon's rising? When the moon's rising, midnight creeping through the clouds. Hear your footsteps on the ground. I'm hanging on to the hope that you're not gonna go, and you'll wait here with me as I will you. Will you still love me when the stars fade away? Will you still love me when the night steals the day? When it gets dark, will you stay where you are, or will you be hiding? When the moon's rising, when the moon's rising. Will you still love me when the stars fade away? Will you still love me when that night steals the day? And when it gets dark, will you stay where you are, or will you be hiding? When the moon's rising, when the moon's rising, when the moon's rising.
That's very cool.
Thank you.
Very mysterious.
Yeah.
Hair in my mouth the whole time, but that's what you get when you have this thick Carter hair that I have.
That'd be a country song. Hair in my mouth.
Yeah.
Do you find there's a lot of pressure when you kind of have that musical heritage, that when somebody says, "Oh, you're from the Carter family," instantly they expect country?
I think I had that pressure,
Yeah.
and sometimes I wonder, and if any of my cousins are watching this, I wonder if they're going to hate the new style.
Yeah.
But I think from my feedback from all of them so far, mostly I think my own family, the other Carters who've continued the tradition, like Lori Davis Bennett's out there, and Dale Jett's out there, and John Carter Cash, and I want them to hear the music and be proud of the next generation and not think like, what is that? That's not country. But
Well, it's funny you mentioned John, and I interviewed Anna
awesome.
a little while ago, and she's doing her own sound too. And,
Yeah.
and again, you say, she's married to John Cash, and you expect country, but it's not. She's bringing a lot of jazz and blues influences into what she does too.
Yeah, and I think for me, what I most am inspired by is knowing my roots.
Yeah.
And growing up, spending my summers in Appalachia, in Bristol, and Hilton's more specifically, which is where
Yeah.
the Carter family's from, where my grandmother grew up. There was always this weight that everyone carried. I know people think like the Carter family famous, but really like the flip side of that is my grandmother wasn't a famous
Yeah.
Carter. She was one of the dirt poor Carters growing up in farm country, and
Yeah.
and there was so many cases of just like sadness and weight that people carried, and not in a bad way necessarily, but just this real like depth that people had, realizing the harsh realities of some of the lives that they lived. And I think I picked up that sentiment early on, and I had a lot of tragedy strike my family on that side when I was about 8-9 years old, with a lot of deaths in our family, and I think that weight kind of continued in me, and so some of the darker sounds and themes come from those roots and from growing up kind of in that area. So I think that's part of it that gets passed on, and then of course the passion for music and for sharing music, and that's the part that I feel really connected to with my family. Not so much maybe the sound,
Yeah.
but the sentiment behind it.
Well, I mean, historically, they were doing something that was kind of different too. They, so we're just following those
Following the
footsteps.
footsteps, yeah, exactly. So,
It's interesting you talk about the weight of where you grew up and how you grew up. That's a pretty cool way of phrasing it.
yeah, and I mean, growing up, for me in Atlanta, I grew up in a suburb called Peachtree City. It's a really nice little suburb, but everybody's kind of happy all the
Yeah.
time, at least they appear that way, and it was very different, and I could just feel that weight whenever, every summer, every Christmas, we would drive up to visit all my mom's siblings and my grandparents and everyone, and it's a different feeling, and there's this real just mystique about the area too, and yeah.
Did other other people you grew up with, they just wouldn't get it if trying to explain
From
to
my
them that way.
hometown. Yeah, no, I think my cousins, though, there are quite a few of us that are my age that grew up in all that and through all the tragedy that we went through, and they get it, and they feel it. And every time we're together, it's kind of funny. We just have, like, we're in our 20s, but sometimes you'd think we're, like, 70-year-olds talking about the losses of our friends, and we really do have a lot of, I guess, just, like, I don't know if it's a depth or just like this realization that life is fragile and hard that we gained really early on. And I think the Carters had that too. The three that sang and also all their relatives that were still up in that part of the country.
I think a lot of artists, anybody that comes from that region, I mean, Loretta Lynn had that, and anybody that comes from that dirt poor heritage, I think, going back to country music, I think country's lost a lot of that.
Yeah.
And it's just because that's kind of, there's not a lot of farms left anymore.
Yeah.
Not a lot of factories left anymore.
Yeah.
People know what it's like to have to, go to a coal mine and spend all your days in there.
Yeah. It's a different world. And I didn't grow up in that world. I mean, I grew up with parents as school teachers and very different, but I saw that.
But that was...
And my grandmother was a factory worker. My grandfather was a factory worker. My aunt was a factory worker. My uncle worked millwright jobs. I mean, all of that family in that area that lived there continued to have those kinds of conditions. And
it's cool how you bring that to your music because, there's a lot of people out there creating that kind of indie pop sound, but it's just kind of, a lot of it becomes cliched and you could feel that weight in what you're singing.
Well, I'm glad
it's
you
really
can.
Cool.
Thanks.
No, it's neat.
And I don't mean to be a downer all the time, but I think there's a place in this project for me where I want to express some of those darker feelings and some of those just more deep areas. And one thing I learned from losing so many family members early on in my life was that nothing is guaranteed, and I think I became a little more pessimistic, and not in a really bad way, maybe it's a little bad, but this song even kind of, it's about a love, but it's kind of this doubt of like, are you going to stay, or are you going to, like, am I going to lose you someday because you choose to leave, or you die or something, and I think that's always just kind of weighing on me.
I think that's really cool. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
We'd love to have you back again.
Yeah.
And
I'd love to come
maybe
back.
later in the day or something.
Yeah, I'll have to be here a little more late.
It'd be fun though when you're in, because I think it'd be really cool for people to get a sense of how you're bringing all these, these things together. If you're in the studio, we'll come in and shoot you while you're in the studio, and
that would be awesome.
And get an idea of how you're bringing all these cool things together.
We can set that up. I'm recording 3 of the other songs for the project right now, like these next couple of weeks and months. So.
Well, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Great.
Sweet.
Thank
and
you so
Buckle,
much. Thank you, guys.
The project is Wildwood.
Wildwood. And Wildwood comes from the song The Wildwood Flower, which was one of the songs the Carter family recorded. And I chose that name to represent this music and this new direction of my career because that song, it's funny, talking about sadness in songs, it's all, oh, I'll turn with flamingos and wave. It sounds happy, but when you look at the lyric, the last verse is actually this flower out in the wild that's gone and neglected and left by her love, and she's mortified and devastated, and I think that's kind of where I took that from, is the idea that my songs are going to express this sadder lyric. And
it's like Steve Martin used to do that bit. It's about, it's impossible to sing a sad song when you're playing the banjo. Or death, destruction.
But the Carter family did it. I mean, a lot of their songs had a lot of weight. And
I'm really excited to hear more of the stuff, and I'm thrilled you came in today.
Yeah,
thank you
so much.
Make sure you check out Wildwood and Buckle. We're going to go back and see how she puts all this stuff together. Excellent. Catch you next time.
Bye.